You can get pre-qualified for a $15,000 GBank Visa credit card without a hard pull. And this card is supposed to be for sports bettors, but honestly, you don't have to know the first thing about fantasy sports to make it work for you. It's open nationwide and pre-qualifying is painless, just a soft credit check, no paperwork, no bank statements, and none of that, prove your income nonsense. And soon I'll show you how two people walked away with combined $25,000 in approvals, why this card could knock your current favorite out of the top spot and become your everyday go-to card, and the wild comeback story of someone approved a month after a bank employee told them it was impossible. Oh, and by the way, I just added a link to this card inside of my free credit card pre-approval master list. I keep it updated monthly, and it has over 80 cards on it that you can get pre-approved for without a hard credit pull. I'll leave a link below so you can check it out. Now, let's talk about why this card is really turning heads right now. So if you've ever tried to deposit money into a sports betting app or fund your daily fantasy sports account with a credit card, then you already know the drill. You're going to get declined, blocked, and rejected. Or even worse, you get approved for the transaction, but it's going to be treated like a cash advance with insane fees, no rewards, and even like a 30% interest rates that started adding up immediately. Most banks actually want nothing to do with gambling related charges, even if it's legal, even if it's a small stakes, even if it's just fantasy sports. But you should know this card was built to reward this kind of spin though. It lets you load money onto the sports betting and gaming apps, no decline transactions, and really you don't have to use any shady workarounds. It treats those loads as purchases, not cash advances, and it actually gives you cash back for doing it. So it's going to give you 1% back on gaming and sports app funding, then 2% back on everything else. Oh, and there's no annual fee either. Now, if you place a ton of bets on FanDuel or DraftKings, then this is the first card that's really built just for you. And at first glance, this looks like just another credit card from a small regional bank in Las Vegas. You'll see GBank stamped right on the front of the card, but that's short for Bank of George. That's a relatively small institution based in Nevada. But if you lift up that hood and peek under, that's where things kind of get interesting because the real power behind this card isn't GBank at all. It's called I2C, and it's a growing fintech company that works behind the scenes with different banks. They really specialize in, back-end technology that makes it really possible for small banks to issue modern digital-first credit cards. They handle the application decisioning, the identity verification and fraud detection. They handle real-time transaction processing. They also handle the look and feel of the online dashboard that you're going to be seeing. So while GBank is technically the issuer, everything you experience from how fast you get approved to what the website looks like to how the verification flow works is run by I2C's system. Now, the GBank Visa card is actually going out to real people with real five-figure limits. And just like anything in the credit card world, things don't always go smoothly. But what matters is how it plays out in the end and what you get approved for. Now, this first person came back from the dead and got approved for a $9,600 credit line. And this one kind of feels like a plot twist out of a movie. And this person applied for the GBank Visa, got the green light for that $9,600 credit line, but only if they could complete identity verification. That sounds simple, right? Well, not so much. So the verification process required them to take a photo of their ID and then take a quick 30-second selfie video on their phone. But their phone's camera was kind of garbage. And the system couldn't match their face to the ID. And their application was denied. No do-overs, no appeal, it's just done. And plus, they were told once that verification fails, the application is closed permanently. So they moved on. They said, forget about it. They applied for a US Bank Altitude Go card instead and got approved there. But then, almost a month later, they got an email from GBank out of nowhere. And you know what it said? It said, congratulations, you've been approved. And they're like, wait, what? So it turns out the system had approved them anyway for that same $9,600 limit. They got the same terms, their card was shipped, and then they had online account access granted. And they said the setup process was a little clunky. They had to create an ATM PIN number just to activate the credit card, but the account was live and usable. They did get a hard pull from Experian, and their credit score was 838. Now, here's another data point that confirms GBank isn't just for people who live in Las Vegas. So a user who didn't live anywhere near Nevada still got approved for a $15,000 limit, and it happened instantly. They stumbled across the GBank card by accident, They saw the rewards breakdown and decided to run the pre-qualification. Now here's what happened. They got instantly pre-qualified. They got a text message with a link to upload a driver's license. There were no income documents requested, and they got a full approval notification shortly after. So this wasn't someone with a deep relationship at the bank. There was no checking account, no prior history, and definitely no Vegas address. And they did get that final limit of $15,000, a hard pull from Experian again, and this has proven that there's no geo restrictions. And this person even mentioned the card came with a $200 welcome bonus after spending $1,000 in spend, which I haven't seen anybody else state, by the way. Now, let's talk about my GBank pre-qualification experience. So I'll be honest, I was curious too. I thought to myself, why not run the same pre-qualification, see what happens? Since there's no documentation, no hard pull, it seemed harmless enough. So I headed over to their site and then landed on the credit card page. Now, getting into the actual pre-qualification flow isn't super obvious. It's kind of buried in the menus. So here's what I found. I had to click on apply now on the main card page, then scrolled all the way down to the see if I pre-qualify section and then hit check now. Then I filled out the usual app info like name, address, social security, income, etc. And then I hit check now again. And then a few seconds later, I got a congratulations splashed across my whole screen. I was pre-qualified. Then shortly after, I got an email confirming the same thing, but that's when things got weird. So the email I received was supposed to include two important things. It was supposed to include my max potential credit limit and then a unique identifier from my application, but both were blank. I figured, maybe it was just a formatting glitch. So I went back to the site and tried to continue the process. And they only offer one personal credit card right now. So I selected the GBank card and proceeded to what looked like the final step. And it has standard stuff on this page, like employer info, housing details, income, and of course, agreeing to the terms of service. But when I hit continue, I got hit with a bright red error. It said customer for given application ID not found. So now I'm frustrated. So that's when I call customer service. I explained what happened and the rep was super polite. He said he escalated to their internal team and told me I'd either one, get a notification confirming the approval and showing my credit limit, or he'd personally follow up with a call to go over any issues. At this point, that was nearly a week ago. There's been no update, no call, no email, just nothing. The good thing is, as of now, all three of my credit reports are frozen, and there's been no attempt at a hard pull from GBank. So that part's a win. But it's still kind of up in the air whether this is just a glitch on their end or something more widespread. So I'm going to update you if anything changes, but hopefully this was just a one-off issue with my application. Now, after running through the process myself and then watching others in the community do the same, one thing has become pretty clear now. This card approval isn't as instant or automated as it looks to be. Yes, GBank does market this as a smooth, fully online pre-qualification experience. And yes, it does look clean on the surface. But once you start digging into the data points, that promise starts to fall apart. So don't expect a fast, clean approval here. Don't expect a decision in 60 seconds. And definitely don't assume that your application is just dead just because something in the, pre-qualification flow breaks. So if you run that pre-qualification and get stuck in limbo, whether it's a missing email, a verification error, or a pending status, it's probably not the dead end that you think it is. It just means a human likely has to step in. So if you're someone who likes fast, kind of frictionless applications, thinking like the Apple Card or Amex, this GBank process might frustrate you. But if you're patient and you've got time to follow up, it might still be worth it. Now, I can easily think of two different type of people this card would be a good play for. If you want to grow your limits and boost your score, I think it's for you. So if you're in that phase of your credit card journey where you're stacking approvals, expanding your available credit limit, and trying to get those utilization numbers down, this card will be a good move for you. Even though it's not Amex or Chase, we've seen real approvals coming in as high as $9,600, even $15,000. That kind of limit could make a big dent in your overall utilization and give your score some real breathing room. And then it's also going to be for you if you regularly are sports betting and using fantasy apps. So let's say you're the kind of person who throws a few bets down every weekend or runs those DraftKings and FanDuel during the NFL season. You know the struggle. Cards are getting declined, charges getting flagged, or worse, being treated as a cash advance like we talked about earlier with those high fees and zero rewards. The GBank card doesn't just accept that kind of spend, it actually rewards it. So you're actually going to earn that 1% cash back on gaming and sports betting app deposits. You're going to get the 2% cash back on everything else. So instead of getting penalized for how you spend your money, you're getting a small chunk of it back. And that's very rare, like one of a kind rare. But it's not going to be for you if you're chasing premium travel perks. This is just not that kind of card. And if you expect instant no hiccup approvals, it might require a follow up, or if you're strictly looking for a big name bank card with long term funding options. But you know what? I got even more evidence that this play is actually working for regular people just like you. I just spoke to another person named Todd who ran the same play and got approved for an $11,300 GBank Visa signature card after soft pull pre-qualification. So definitely click on the next video right here to see how he went from a credit score in the low 600s after a medical crisis to that five-figure GBank Visa approval in under 60 seconds. Thank you for watching.